All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video. The first one of the year, the first one of the season. I am pre-recording this, so you guys are getting this on opening day. Something a little fun, something a little light, something I didn't even need to prepare for, which is something I haven't had to do in a very long time. We are going to go over the 2025-2026 NBA GMs survey. They asked GMs, I think it's like something like 50 questions or something like that. Um, I want to talk about it, give my thoughts, give my opinions, read the answers. It's 49 questions. It's almost 50. Um, we'll get through 49 questions is a lot of questions. Are they all important? Maybe. I don't know. I literally have stayed away from everything relating to this GM survey just so I can give my genuine reactions to this stuff. So if you like what I've said, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So we also do have some news, some not breaking news, just some updates, some contracts, some people that got waived before opening night. So I just want to hit that, but we'll hit that at the end. I really just want to jump into the survey because I've been meaning to do this video for a while, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just do it on opening day, so we have something to talk about. And guys have a video for opening day, and we'll talk about opening day on Wednesday. So you guys will have a video on Tuesday, on Wednesday, Tuesday today, Wednesday tomorrow, and yeah. So let's jump right into this. So 49 questions. Um, the annual survey is here. NBA general managers react to key topics before the 2025-2026 season tips off. I don't know if he wrote this or the guys whose name is on this article is John Schumann. So yeah, shout out John. I don't know if he sent the survey out and he typed this up or whatever. It could be an AI survey for all I know. um, let's get into this. This is a bunch of This bunch of prelude. I'll leave that link down below too if you guys want to check out the full article. Um, but we'll just skip to the questions here. So the first one is which team will win the 2025-2026 NBA Finals or the 2026 NBA Finals? We'll go from top to bottom, or bottom to top. Tied at number two is the Denver Nuggets at 7%. Tied at number two as well is the Cleveland Cavaliers at 7%. Um, I don't know how comfortable I feel about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They had a pretty bad playoff run last year. The regular season was an all-time great regular season. The Nuggets, if you've seen any of my videos talking about these or previewing these NBA teams, um, I'm very high on the Denver Nuggets. If I had to pick between the Denver Nuggets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'd probably pick the Denver Nuggets just because they have the MVP and the former MVP or the whatever time MVP Nikola Jokic, um, top left of your screen, and I feel more comfortable picking a team with an MVP because as much as I like Donovan Mitchell on the Cleveland Cavaliers, I don't know if he's the guy to lead a team to the finals. Like it's a tough road, man. But if there is a year, it is indeed this year that they could probably get back to the finals. And then number one is the Oklahoma City Thunder at 80%. This is the no-brainer pick. This is the pick everybody knows, the pick everybody wants, or not everybody wants, but everybody is expecting. Um, I would at least say this: win is a tough thing, and going back to back is a tough thing too. I think at the worst, the Oklahoma City Thunder make it back to the finals. They at least make it back, depending on who comes out of the East. Um, we'll see. Also receiving votes. Oh, and just for reference, because they have last year's numbers up here too. Last year, the Boston Celtics were voted 83%. So goes to show this isn't always accurate. These GMs don't always know what they're talking about. Teams also receiving votes: the Houston Rockets and the New York Knicks at some percentage, lower than 7%. To be honest, I actually like the Knicks more than the Cavaliers. If I'm being honest, if I would probably have the it would probably go Thunder, just off the names here, and I'm not thinking about it too much. I'd probably go Thunder, Knicks, Denver, Houston, and then Cleveland. Yeah, that's probably how I would do it. And then they have the rankings. we don't need to go through. It's a bunch of percentages and numbers. If you guys want to check it out, you guys can check it out. Okay. These next couple are player questions. Um, who will win the 2025-2026 Kia MVP? Um, going from bottom to top like we did before, and we'll do for the rest of this video. Number 4, Victor Wembanyama from San Antonio, 7%, top right of your screen. I man, I don't. The thing about winning MVP is your team has like, you don't have the only anomaly of your team not being good or not being like a championship contender, and the prerequisite being the best player on the best team usually gets MVP. That's usually how it works. The only um, outlier from that line of thought is that the Russell Westbrook year from a bunch of years ago, where his team wasn't the best, but he was just doing something historic. Um, I say that to say if Victor, and I said this in my video when I was previewing them, Victor is going to have to lead this young team on the court, obviously, with his defense, with his offense. He's looked great in preseason. Looks very healthy. Added so many more tricks to his bag. With De'Aaron Fox being out, it's gonna be a tougher road to start the season. But if he is gonna do it, he has to come out of the gates hot, and the team has to come out the gate winning. Him at 7% isn't crazy. Do I think he'll be in this conversation by All Star break? If I had to bet on it, I would probably say no. I would probably say no. I think this is the Luka Doncic thing. Every year since like his second year in the league, and I'm the biggest Luka Doncic fan you'll ever meet. Um, he's just gonna be hovering around this conversation, and the goal is always he has to play enough games, he has to be on one of the better teams in the league, and Luka has done one of those things time and time again. But I'm not concerned about Victor's health, but it's all these things that combine, and maybe it's not this year, maybe it's coming. I think him being in this conversation is fine, but overall, do I think he could win it? I don't think so. I think him sitting at 4 at 7% is fine. Um, Number 3, the reigning MVP from last year, Shai Alexander from Oklahoma City, got 8% of the vote. Middle left of your screen, in case you're wondering. 8% for Shea. I think it's a little bit disrespectful. I think this is factoring in him already having voter fatigue, and people didn't like that he won the MVP already. Like the masses didn't like him winning MVP already. I think this also shows that the GMs didn't like it. The GMs didn't like the play style that Shea put on last year. It was it was a bit foul baity, it was a bit fluky, and it's the James Harden thing where James Harden only has one MVP, and that one year was a really great year. But every year since then, people figured out his play style. The refs didn't call the fouls the same. The numbers don't look the same. They haven't looked the same. Um, Shea's a far bit younger, and has time to adjust. Can he win back-to-back MVPs though? I don't think. I don't think. I think he has a higher chance than number 2, and number 2 is Luka Doncic from the Los Angeles Lakers at 10%. Middle left of your screen, right next to Shea at number 77. Um, I think Shea deserves a bit more recognition than Luka. Although Luka, although the Lakers missing LeBron James gives Luka the chance to really show his skills and his whole bag of tricks. You know, being the guy in LA, and maybe same thing with Victor is that he can come out very hot and just steal the award in the first like month or so because LeBron isn't gonna be back to like they say the middle of November. I would say end of November, beginning of December. So Luka has 2 months essentially, a month and a half, give or take, to really push that narrative. I think he could do it. And then another MVP, a former MVP from was that 2 years ago, two, two, one, two, something like that. Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets sitting at 67%, top left of your screen. Um, as much as I like this Nuggets team, I think this Nuggets team is more geared to Nikola Jokic having to do less and him having an easier time and not having to put up these gaudy numbers that like he did when he won his first MVP. Um, Now you could say he just does that normally, and it's not going to be a stress on him. He could just average those numbers anyway, still with this team, and he could win the MVP. I would agree with that. But I think this team is more geared towards him not putting up those numbers, and you kind of need to put up some like flashy numbers and like if he wins this, because Nikola Jokic is I think he's a three-time MVP, right? I'll look it up real quick. I think that's correct, right? To put him, let's see, four-time MVP, three-time MVP. Um, to have him win four MVPs would be insane. Um, let me see here. I'm trying to think of who else has four MVPs. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, no, that would put him up there with. Damn. Yeah. Okay. So he would tie. Yeah, he would tie LeBron with four. He would tie Wilt Chamberlain with four. He would have more than Magic Johnson. He would have more than Larry Bird. He would have more than Moses Malone. He would have more than Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he Giannis and the next one, Steph Curry, only have two MVPs. You would have way more than them, and then the list gets kind of insane. I mean, there's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar here with one, two, three, four, five, six MVPs is crazy, and those were all in like the 70s and 80s. If Jokic gets four MVPs, then that puts him in a crazy conversation with the likes of like Kareem, Bill Russell, just in the numbers of winning MVPs. That's crazy. Um, I think that the thing about him is the voter fatigue as well. But I think him having this new cast of characters around him doesn't make it feel like a repeat of the last couple MVPs he's had. I think it's a different dynamic, and I think maybe if you can show something, I want to say something different, but something more interesting to people that catches their eye and be like, oh, okay, this is a sort of different version of Nikola Jokic, but still doing similar things. I think he could win it. So I'd probably do like Nikola Jokic, Shea, Luca, and then like no disrespect to Wemby, the team needs to be good. That's the biggest part of this is the team needs to be good. Um, I'd probably put Giannis in that spot because the honorable mentions here, people also receiving votes: Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Edwards, um, bottom left of your screen, um, and Donovan Mitchell. I don't know why Donovan. I don't know what GM voted for Donovan Mitchell. I like Donovan a lot. I like his shoes. I like his personality. He's a great guy, but I don't know if he's MVP material. um, I probably put Giannis over Wemby, and then I put like Wemby and Anthony Edwards in that conversation of like sort of dark horse contenders for an MVP, depending on their team. And Giannis is a huge depending on his team as well. But I think if Giannis just comes out and has like a crazy year, and like okay, this team sucks. I'm putting it on my back. We're gonna be like at least avoid the play in. That would be impressive. That again, sort of like a Russell Westbrook type year from a couple years ago where he won the MVP. The team wasn't great, but he dragged that team to like whatever many wins they had, and they lost in the playoffs. But MVP is about the regular season. So, um, next question: if you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the NBA, who would it be? Um, this is sort of in the line of MVP and what more so what GMs value and who GMs think is a long-term starting piece, um, or even starting their franchise today. It says today. Um, Going from bottom to top, the Nikola Jokic 3%, Shai Alexander 13%, and Victor Wembanyama 83. The Victor Wembanyama winning this overwhelmingly is simply because he's the youngest one here, and I think he's the closest to ascending. Shea already has ascended. Um, Jokic has ascended, but Jokic is 30 now. Um, it's just the age. I think it's the age. Um, if I had to pick somebody outside of these three, Last year's winner for this was Victor Wembanyama, again with 77% though. If I had to pick somebody, I mean, I'm a big Amen Thompson guy. Um, I think Cade Cunningham from the Pistons deserves to be in this conversation. Um, yeah, those are the only names that pop into my mind right now. Maybe I almost said Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson's 32. He's not as young as he seems. Ant, I think Ant's great. Ant's a good one. Um, if you can think of any players, leave it down below in the comments. I'd be interested to see if you guys have any thoughts about that. Moving on here to the next question, next query. Um, which player forces opposing coaches to make the most adjustments? So this is an interesting one because the GMs are answering this, but this is more of a coach's question. But I guess you could visually see it as well as somebody. A lot of these GMs go to the game, so they could probably see a lot of these guys and know it as well. Um, this is funny. So number 5 is Shea Alexander, 3%. Hmm. I guess I this might be a compliment and a diss because it's like, well, we just throw our best defender on Shea and then we just hope for the best. That's really the thing is that's all you can hope for. Um, Number 4, Luka Doncic at 10%. Same thing. I guess you just sort of say, hey, throw your best defender on him and hope, pray and hope. Maybe, yeah, I guess, yeah. Number 3, first mention, Stephen Curry, Golden State Warriors, 13%. First mention? Is this the first? Disregard that if it's in the first mention. 13%. Yeah, yeah. I still think Steph Curry is one of the. There's sort of a mindset of like we know what to do, but like he's still one of those players where you're like you can't really throw one player what your best defender on him because like he's just running around on the screens and this has been beaten to death but he's just running around on screens, he's using pin downs, he's using these ghost screens now. You see guys, they have guys like Al Horford, they have guys like Quentin Post, they have guys like Draymond Green who know how to get him the ball where he wants the ball. And I think sort of Steph Curry's greatness, and I don't want to diminish it by any means, I'm a Steph Curry fan, is that he needs a good big that knows how to get him the ball. Steph Curry has always been the best when they've had a big. Obviously, Draymond Green, the Andrew Bogus in the past, the Festus Azealis of the past, um, the Boogie Cousins for that 1 year. Um, Steph's greatness is predicated on the system and the players around him, but also the bigs that know how to get him the ball. So at him at 13%, especially in these advanced years, I'm not mad at it. Giannis 17% from the Milwaukee Bucks. Um, yeah, yeah, you just can't do anything with him. When he's healthy and when he's right, and this isn't the best year. This isn't going to be the best year for him. When you can't stack the paint, when you can't just quote unquote what they used to build the wall, um, he's not as effective. But he has worked. If you watch him at any point last year, he has worked on his bag a little bit. He gets a little bit deeper in the post game at the elbows, more comfortable taking the threes. At least he doesn't think about it. He's just like, well, I'm open. Here we go. He just shoots the three. 17% isn't bad. And then Nikola Jokic is the one that's the hardest because you have to have a smart big that knows not to foul him, that knows where he's going to pass the ball. And the thing about Jokic is he doesn't have to look where he's going to pass the ball. He knows where everybody's going to be. In these first couple months of the season this season, it might be harder for him to have those moments where he knows where the player's going to be. He knows where the Cam Johnsons are going to be. He knows where the Tim Hardaway Juniors are going to be. But overall, over the course of his career, um, and forcing coaches to make adjustments. Um, he's the hardest because you just don't know. You just don't know. His gift is him not having to score. Nikola Jokic, I've always maintained the fact is Nikola Jokic is at his best when he has like 15 points, 18 rebounds, 15 assists. That's a great night for him. That's him winning and the team win. Obviously, that's him having an easy night. And be like, okay, yeah, just do this normally. 57% for Nikola Jokic is incredible. Um, Let me just scroll through here. Okay. We got some positional things coming up. Um, Next question: which player is the most likely to have a breakout season 2025, 2026? Some of these are a bit obvious, but we'll go through them. We'll run through them. Um, let me do the also receiving votes first here. Let me do the also receiving votes, and then let me do who won it last year, who had the best percentage last year. Also receiving votes: Danny Avdia of Portland. I like that one. Stephon Castle, San Antonio. Yeah, with De'Aaron Fox being out, yeah. Jalen Green of Phoenix. I've made my feelings known about Jalen Green. I don't think so. Um, and let's do this right now. Breakout. Breakout means like actually contributing to winning basketball, in my opinion. That's what breakout means. I don't care if you score enough points. I don't breakout and MIP, most improved player, are two separate things to me. Like breakout is like actually contributing to winning basketball and playing smart and playing in your role and doing all these things. MIP is like, well, who just scored? Who had the biggest scoring jump? Who had the biggest assist jump? Who had the biggest percentage jump? I think that's also in consideration. I think Jalen Green's in that conversation for most improved. Breakout to me is like you actually contributing to like you figured out your role in the NBA and you know what you're gonna do, and you've ascended to another level. That's breakout to me. Jalen Johnson of Atlanta, I like that one. Tyrese Maxey, it looks like Joel Embiid's going to play in preseason or play in start the regular season. So I don't know if Max is going to be able to break out like I would have thought he might have a couple months ago when we didn't know if Joel was going to play. Alex Sarr, it's a little early, I think, for Alex Sarr. Maybe just maybe next year. Well, when I say next year, I mean next season, like after this one. Alperen Şengün, I like that one. Alperen Şengün's nice. Reed Shepard. All the next three are all Houston players: Alperen Şengün, Reed Shepard, and Jabari Smith. I think Reed Shepard has the chance out of everybody since the Fred VanVleet injury. Reed Shepard being a point guard is going to have a lot of opportunities in Houston now. Jabari Smith might get lost in the shuffle. I don't have too much belief that he can break out. Maybe defensively he can break out a bit more, but offensively maybe not. And Zion Williamson's here. I have no idea why Zion Williamson's here. I just want Zion Williamson to play. I don't care if he breaks out or not. I said in my video, he could have a bad year. If the team's good, I just need him to play. He needs to play. The team needs to be good. I don't care about his numbers at this point. I just don't care. Um, Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams, won it last year, 13%, and they nailed that one right on the head, right on the head. He went to the playoffs and went to the finals, and he was a huge part of why the Oklahoma City won that um, whole thing. So moving on, this year's 2025, 2026, play most likely a breakout. At number 5, which is interesting, Franz Wagner with 7%. I like Franz. I think the biggest thing about Franz is him needing, in capitals, all caps, Need, needing to get a 3-point shot. At least hit the corners. At least hit the corners. Hit the kickouts. Like that's the biggest thing about Franz. If he manages to do that, he can run away with this. Victor Wembanyama, the no-brainer, 10%, tied at um, number 2. There's a 3-way tie for number 2. Um, the next one, the next tie, Ashore Thompson from Detroit, 10%. Um, sure, I mean, the Pistons are a bit lighter on the depth, and they're going to need to rely on him a bit more, and maybe offensively, it could be really, really good this year. Um, the third tie for number 2, Brandon Miller, 10%. I've always liked, well, I don't want to say always liked. I like Brandon Miller enough to believe in his development and believe if he wasn't in the purgatory that is Charlotte, he would actually get some national recognition for how good he could be. Um, his favorite player being Paul George always has me concerned. When anybody ever says that, I always look at you like, what's your basketball IQ like? But him as a player, I've I've I threw this thought out there, and I don't know why I was talking about the Olympics the other day with somebody, but Brandon Miller being on the 2028 Olympic team, this is a conversation that's gone completely off the rails, but would be interesting. I want to see him in a winning environment, someone with some actual roots and some actual like consequences for him losing or winning a game. You know, I like Brandon Miller. I'm invested in Brandon Miller. We'll put it that way. Oh, we just got an update here. Um, Denver Nuggets guard Christian Braun has agreed to a 5-year, $125 million rookie extension with the franchise. Okay, cool. Breaking news. Da-na-na, na-na-na. Moving on here, back to the questions. Ahmed Thompson, 30%. Houston, um, most likely to break out this season. This is a no-brainer. I love Ahmed Thompson. Ahmed Thompson's a great player. I think if he doesn't break out this season, I'm going to be concerned about when he is going to break out. I think him playing with Kevin Durant, him being, in my opinion, essentially the number two, is going to be really good. It's KD, Ahmed, and then Shangun for me. That these are the levels for me on that team. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna skip a couple of these, but we'll hit a couple. We'll hit a few of these here. These are all positional, going from point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. Who's the best point guard in the NBA? Um, at 4% or number four at 3%, Tyrese Halliburton. He's gonna be injured this year, so I understand why he's so low. I would have him higher personally, if he wasn't injured. I think a lot of people would. Stephen Curry at number three from Golden State, 7%. Luka Doncic from Los Angeles, 17%. And the reigning MVP, of course, Shai Alexander, 73%. That's fair. I think this is one of the most perfect lists they have. This is absolutely perfect. Um, uh, best shooting guard. We'll just go through the top one. Anthony Edwards, 70%. Completely agree. Completely agree. Um, this is what I hate about these surveys is I wish they gave him some more parameters because tied for number three, they have Luka Doncic at at at, at, at 7%, tied for three. We already had him in the point guard. Just leave it. He's a point guard. He's not a shooting guard. He's a point guard. Whatever, right? And then they have Steph Curry at number five, 3%. Leave it. He's a point guard. I know he's not the traditional sense of the point guard, but no, there's no traditional point guards left in the NBA. He's a point guard. Leave it. Let's have some parameters. This is ridiculous. Um, best small forward, tied for number four, both at 7%. LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard at um at 7%. I guess so. Yeah, sure. Number three at 17% from Houston, Kevin Durant. I like that. Seven at number three is pretty good. Um, and then here we have it again. We'll get to it in a second. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Jason Tatum going to be injured this year, at 20%, at number two, so that's good. And then again, we have a repeat. We have Luka Doncic at 40% as the best small forward, even though he's the second best point guard. I'm even as a Luka Doncic fan, I'm just gonna give this to Jason Tatum and say yes, Jason Tatum was the best forward last year and would have probably been the best forward this year if he didn't get injured. Honorable mentions here: Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, Jalen. Yeah, no. I was about to say something crazy, and I'm still gonna say it. I'm just prefacing it with this. I think Jalen Williams right now might be the third best small forward. Youth, his abilities, what he did in the finals, LeBron James being injured, Kawhi Leonard always being to be determined if he's actually gonna play games. Um, I, is that that's I'm gonna stand on that hill. I'll stand on that right now and say Luka Doncic is in the forward. He's a guard. So Jason Tatum's one. Kevin Durant's two. Jalen Williams is three. There you have it. I said it. I said it. And I'm not afraid to say it again. Uh, best power forward voted was Giannis, 93%. Hooray! Very obvious. Um, wow. Wow. Okay, here we go. Who's the best center in the NBA? Number two is Victor Wembanyama at 3%. Okay, and then Nikola Jokic, 97%. There is somebody here who is missing, and some people will be very mad about this. Joel Embiid is missing from this list. Where's Joel Embiid? I don't know. I don't have the rest of the numbers in front of me. Where did he rank? Apparently not high enough because 97% plus 3% equals 100. So Joel Embiid did not get any votes this year. Um, I would put that in my back pocket if I'm Joel Embiid and be like, okay, I remember this. Um, that's I'm not. I don't even know what this question means. Highest percentage of total votes on positional questions. So they're tallying up the most amount of votes somebody got because they're out of position essentially. Okay, not gonna touch that one. Um, these next couple are off-season moves. We'll skip a couple of these for time's sake, and I don't want to steal the whole article. Best off-season move. Which or best off-season moves is the category. The subcategory is which team made the best overall moves this off-season. Um, Starting at 5, Boston Celtics. I guess just because they got rid of all those contracts and they're sort of in limbo right now, whether they're going to be somewhat competitive or they're going to be bad. Orlando Magic acquiring Desmond Bain, 7%. Okay. Denver Nuggets at 3, with 10% of the vote. Okay, yeah, yeah. I, I, I like it. Um, Houston Rockets at 27% at number 2. I would say the Houston Rockets have abundance of talent because they have Kevin Durant, which is fine. You know, players want to play with Kevin Durant. Um, I think the interesting thing that you have to factor into this, and this is only after the fact, is that Fred VanVleet got injured, right? And then you have these question marks about who's going to play point guard, who's going to be the point guard. If you have to answer that, if you don't have an answer to that question, and the answer subsequently to that question is, oh well, Ahmed Thompson's going to get a crack at it, Reed Shepard's going to get a crack at it. If you don't have a backup point guard, I don't think you had a good offseason that well. You know it might be a little. The Houston Rockets offseason might be a little overrated. I understand they got Kevin Durant. I understand they got all these auxiliary pieces. You have Dwayne Finney-Smith. You have Steven Adams. You have all these guys, right? Um, but I think the Denver Nuggets did a slightly better job, and I'm gonna die on this. I'm gonna say it all season until they're bad. Denver Nuggets had a really good offseason, and I put them above the Rockets. And then at number 1, the Atlanta Hawks, 53%. I really like what the Atlanta Hawks did this year. Um, I think sort of going forward in this weekend East is always a great sign. I have no further analysis on it. I did my whole analysis on it when I talked about them in my team season preview. So if you want my thoughts on that, you can check that out. You can check that video out with them. Um, Moving past one question, going to another. What is the most underrated player acquisition this offseason? Oh man, there's some. Oh man, I gotta read the. I gotta read. Oh lord. Okay, so last year, let me read last year's first. Alex Caruso at 23%, which turned out to be very correct. They were right on the money with that one. The honorable mentions from this year. Man, oh man, some of these make me giggle. Okay, so um, first one here, DeAndre and Los Angeles Lakers. I've said this all off season. Los Angeles Laker fans are either gonna love or hate DeAndre, and JJ Redick is either gonna love Coach JJ Redick of the Los Angeles Lakers, is either gonna love DeAndre or absolutely despise him because JJ's a psycho, and DeAndre just his motor runs very high or very low. This has been the case out on him since he came out of Arizona. Is that DeAndre either really cares or doesn't care at all. He's one of those guys where it's either all in or all out. There's no in between. He gets his feelings hurt, and JJ is not a guy to mince words. JJ will tell you, "Hey, you fucking suck tonight. You're getting benched. Go sit on the bench." And DeAndre might go home and cry about it, which is very concerning. Bradley Beal being here with the LA Clippers, as an honorable mention. Bradley Beal has never fitted in any situation where he hasn't been the guy, and it's slightly concerning that a lot of Clippers fans and a lot of people around the NBA, especially these GMs, think he's gonna be something for the Clippers. I don't know about that. I'm 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 gonna monitor that situation so hard because I just don't know. I just don't know. Um, Jalen Green for Phoenix. We already talked about Jalen Green. Al Horford. I think Al Horford will have mixed games. There's gonna be some bad ones. There's gonna be some good ones. I think the good might outweigh the bad ones by a little bit, but not by much. Kevin Looney for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's already injured, so we're gonna have to wait on that. Brook Lopez for the Clippers. I like Brook Lopez on the Clippers more than I like Bradley Beal on the Clippers. We'll put it that way. I think Brook Lopez is going to be more impactful as a backup for Vincent Zubac than Bradley Beal starting or coming off the bench is going to be. Norman Powell in Miami. I never got the Norman Powell hype. I think he was cool for one season. I think the Clippers did the right thing by letting him go and trading him to Miami because either he has a duplicate year in Miami, like he did last year for the Clippers, where he was really good offensively, or he just drops off a mountain. He drops off a hill. And I think dropping off the hill is more likely than him repeating the success that he had last year. Um, Marcus Smart, Los Angeles Lakers. I think if Marcus Smart can be 70%, 75% of Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart, the Lakers will be happy with that. The other side of that is that maybe Marcus Smart is completely washed, and the Lakers didn't put a lot into him. I don't think he's on a crazy deal, but it's going to be a wasted roster spot, which is not what you need when you have Luka Doncic and LeBron James. You can't waste roster spots. Um, yeah, okay, so let's move into the people that actually got percentage of votes here. Tied for fourth, you have Luke Cornett, San Antonio Spurs, Drew Holiday, Portland, Dorian Finney-Smith, Houston, John Collins, Clippers, and Lonzo Ball, Cleveland. The ones I don't think. Well, okay, so the question is underrated. I think that Luke Cornett is underrated. I think Dorian Finney-Smith is underrated, even though he's injured to start the season. I think John Collins will be slightly underrated because he's probably one of the youngest guys on that Clippers team, and he's going to provide some energy, some youth. Um, I think the Lonzo Ball. I don't think the Lonzo Ball one is underrated. I just think he was playing for the Bulls for the last couple years, and people just forgot about him. So maybe if you want to count that as underrated, sure. Um, Drew Holiday. I was in my video when I previewed the Blazers. I was high on Drew Holiday, and I kind of thought about it over the last couple of days, and I was like, Drew Holiday hasn't looked like Drew Holiday for like a whole year, and I don't think he's gonna get up for these Portland games. Maybe he will. Maybe I'm not sure though. I don't think it's underrated. I think it's properly rated. Um, Kristaps Porzingis being underrated at number three with a 10%, maybe. Yeah, I mean, he had this mysterious injury, and there are all types of theories about what he had last year, and I'm not going to get into it here, but him just being healthy and in a contract year might make him underrated because he might just show up and just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm Nick's Kristaps Porzingis again," and here I go shooting about five threes a game and making three of them and dunking the ball and catching lobs from Trey Young. Yeah, here I am. Cam Johnson. I think people who know Cam Johnson are sort of concerned about his health, but I'm not concerned. I think his role being him being a starter, him having just to be a catch and shoot guy, it's not underrated. He's just gonna be Cam Johnson when he was on the Suns, just a little bit better. So that's properly rated, I think. I, I do think Desmond Bain is underrated on Orlando with 17% sitting at number one. I do think that's a little underrated, just a little bit, just a little bit. Because he's been in Memphis and he's had to play like behind John Morant, and I shouldn't say behind. He's had to play with John Morant, who's very ball dominant. He's had to play with Jaren Jackson Jr., who not at times is ball dominant, but he would chuck shots sometimes because he was also a big one shooter. Um, I think him having a chance to play with a guy like Franz, who actually facilitates, him getting kickouts from Paulo, is going to be good. A little bit underrated, yeah. Okay, let's move on here. Let me see how many I have left. Hold on. All right, we're gonna start moving through this a little bit because I scrolled through and took a peek, and there are some that I just don't want to talk about. And again, I don't want to steal their article. Um, okay, so this next question: who will be the most improved team of 2025-2026? At number five, the New Orleans Pelicans. Some people still believe. I don't know if I believe. I just, I just don't care about the Pelicans anymore. Just show me something. That's all I need. Just show me something. Um, oh wow, that was okay. Um, Philadelphia 76ers at number 10 with 10%. At number 4 with 10%. Sure, why not? Tied for number 2, San Antonio Spurs and Atlanta Hawks both 20%. Hmm. I would give the Hawks more of a chance than the Spurs. We'll put it that way. Then Orlando, 47%. I'd say that's about right. And then last year people voted the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies were played some disgusting basketball at times. That's an interesting one right there. That's one they got wrong, I think. All right, so we're gonna move past all these questions. This is rookie and international stuff, player stuff. We'll just cover the one who will win the 2025-2026 Rookie of the Year. There are two people that got the majority of the votes. There was Cooper Flag and there was VJ Edgecombe. And then last year, people had Reed Shepard. Reed Shepard is such an anomaly. It's such an interesting player that I think this year is actually going to be this year will be the year he's actually going to play. But last year, people voting Reed Shepard's crazy. But this year, I think this is correct. VJ and Cooper being 1 and 2, that's going to be the fight all year. And it's going to be dependent on how much time VJ gets and how impactful Cooper Flag can be for the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, so move past all this rookie and international stuff. Um, moving on to defense. Move on to defense here. Who is the best defensive player in the NBA? Last year, they voted Victor Wembanyama, 40%. This year, people also receiving votes, not enough to get a percentage. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Lou Dort, pretty even. Um, who's the best defensive player? Tied for number 2, Rudy Gobert and Evan Mobley. I've made my feelings known about Rudy Gobert. I don't think he should even have 2 MVPs. I said it. I think Evan Mobley is sort of my type of defender. Very switchable, very mobile. Not no pun intended. Mobley mobile. I would take Evan Mobley over Rudy Gobert every day of the week. You couldn't pay me to put Rudy Gobert on my team to win a NBA championship. Um, so yeah, Evan Mobley. I'd even put Giannis over Rudy Gobert. Yeah, yeah. I won't say it again, but you heard what I said. And then number 1 with 80% of the vote, Victor Wembanyama, gonna be a defensive monster. Probably could have won Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie last year. Um, there's no question that he's gonna be the best. One A or 1B for the next like 10 years. Victor Wembanyama will be. And if his offense never is like that, his defense will always be the backbone of his career. Um, who is the best perimeter defender in the NBA? Number 6, Astor Thompson, 2%. Drew Holiday from Portland at number 5, 7%. Lou Dort, Oklahoma City at number 4, 14%. Ahmed Thompson, 22% from Houston, number 3. Alex Caruso, Oklahoma City at number 2, 24%. And Dyson Daniels from Atlanta, number 1, 31%. I don't think this list is subjective at all. I think this is a very, very accurate assessment of the best perimeter defenders. And a lot of these guys are like late 20s, mid 20s, in their prime defenders. And except Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's old. And again, I don't know. Again, like I said, I don't know. Drew Holiday hasn't been Drew Holiday for a whole year, so I don't know. I might put a score over Drew Holiday, but Drew Holiday gets a little bit of respect because he's been doing it for so long. Um, who's the best interior defender? The biggest answer was Victor Wembanyama. Um, top right of your screen. Yeah. Who is the most versatile defender? Okay. Um, hmm. Last year was Giannis, 17%. Okay. Uh, also receiving votes for this year, Tumani Kamara. I think he's on the up and up. I think this is a good place for him to be. Tariq also on the up and up. Asor Thompson. let's see the Pistons in more competitive games, and let's see Asor do more stuff, and then he can definitely belong on in the percentage of this list. Um, Tied for number seven, OG Ananobi, Lou Dort, 7%. I I like OG a little bit more than Lou Dort because I think Lou Dort gets away with some little things that might rub people the wrong way, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way. So I'll take OG over him. Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama's ISO like switch defense needs to be a little bit better. Him being tied for number four with 10% isn't bad. I just think it's what it is. Him being like whatever he is, whatever they say he is, like 7'5" or 7'4", he's actually like 7'7". Um, Evan Mobley at 10. Again, the switchability, him working on small defenders does need a little bit of work, but he's the defensive player of the year, so I don't think I should be saying anything about him. Dyson Daniels, very good, 10%, tied for four. Giannis again got a lot of votes, 13% of the votes at number three. Draymond Green still at his ripe old age, 17%. I think Draymond Green, when he turns it on, oh man, it's amazing. And then taking the belt from Draymond Green is Ahmed Thompson from Houston, number one, 18%. I really like Ahmed. I think the same thing with Victor is like even if Ahmed's offense never really comes along or isn't even really that effective, his defense is always gonna be incredible. Always gonna be incredible. And to add to this, most versatile defender, I think most athletic defender is Ahmed Thompson. Definitely. We'll skip past that. Um, Heading into the coaches section, who is the best head coach in the NBA? Um, Honorable mentions, also receiving votes: Rick Carlisle, Indiana Pacers, Nick Nurse, Philadelphia 76ers. I said did I say this in my Philadelphia video? I'm not sure if Nick Nurse is a good coach anymore. And it might be just the team he has and the stuff that's been going on. I just don't know. I pray for Nick Nurse's health and his job security that the Sixers at least put together a somewhat healthy season, and we can actually see if Nick Nurse is a good coach again. Because he was really good in Toronto. He hasn't been as great with Philly. But Carlisle took an improbable Indiana Pacers team to the finals. So him only being number three, him only getting honorable mention is crazy. Um, Teron Lue at 7%. I would put Rick Carlisle over Teron Lue at this point. Teron Lue needs to, same thing with Nick Nurse. Teron Lue needs to show me something, dude. It might be the situation and the players and all this stuff, but you need to show me something, bro. I really like Teron Lue, but man, you need to show me something. Mark Dagnall of Oklahoma City, the reigning NBA championship head coach, only receiving 34% of the vote at number two. Interesting. I guess this is sort of the year of show me you can do it again. I would say that. And I think been running for a lot of years now. Probably almost all these best head coach questions. The best head coach in the NBA is Miami's Eric Spoelstra, number one, sitting at 52%. I will say this: Eric Spoelstra just makes things happen. He just makes things happen sometimes. He just makes things happen. That's a talent within its own. Um, which head coach is the best manager slash motivator of people? Um, we'll run through these. I won't even give the percentiles because I don't think it's important. But number five, Teron Lue, agree with that. Joe Mazzulla, absolute psychopath, but his players love him. Understandable. Steve Kerr, I think if there was like a motivator of the decade, and like, well, let's put it this way: if Steve Kerr likes you and you play basketball the right way, he will motivate you to the end of the world. Um, Steve Kerr probably deserves that award of motivator of the decade. Is Steve Kerr amazing what he's done? Um, and this is the last year of his contract too, so this might be the last year we get to see of Steve Kerr. Probably won't be, but I'm being pessimistic. Ime Udoka, that's the biggest thing about Ime when he first came in as a coach was he was a motivator. He's a former player. He got on people's asses in Boston, and they loved him in Boston. And he had that situation that happened, and we don't talk about it. But him being in Houston and him getting the coach Kevin Durant again because he was on the coaching staff when they won in what was that 20 technically it was the 2020 Olympics. When KD was on that team and he was the leader of that team, and Ime was on that coaching staff, and they loved being around each other and all that stuff. And then the best motivator is Eric Spoelstra. I personally, as I would put Ime over Eric, but Eric being the best coach probably entails him being the best manager and motivator. So props to Eric Spoelstra here. Um, who makes the best in-game adjustments? Toronto won this 40% of the vote. LA Clippers. Which coach runs the best offense? Um, you got well here. We'll do the top three. The top three. Yeah. Rick Carlisle went to the finals last year, just making adjustments. All 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 that playoff runs, receiving 52% of the vote. Then you have Kenny Atkinson, Chris Finch tied for second, 10%. I don't is Chris. I don't know. I don't know about Chris Finch. That's a weird one. Mark Dagnall and Steve Kerr tied for fourth. Technically third, I would believe. I think, right? Yeah, technically third. Um, yeah. Okay. Do 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 do. Oh, this is an interesting one. Who is the best assistant head coach? Minnesota won this with Michael Nori, 25%. Jeff Van Gundy got 14% of the vote for the Clippers, and then, huh, okay, okay. Which active player will make the best head coach someday? And the obvious vote, Chris Paul with 27%. You got Mike Conley in here from Minnesota, 17. You got TJ McConnell, 17. You know what's so funny? I could probably see I try to picture these guys in suits, or at least what they wear now. Like they wear what, like a quarter zip and like some slacks or some like sweats. I can see Mike Conley as a coach. Mike Conley's been around. Mike Conley is Mike Conley is the leading all-time scorer for the Grizzlies and was on that grit and grind Grizzlies team way back in the early 2000 teens. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd do it. Garrett Temple of Toronto, sure. Drew Holiday. I'm not sure Drew Holiday wants to do anything after playing. He said he was going to retire after his last contract ran out. That's before he went to Boston. That was when he was with Milwaukee. He was like, I'm going to retire after this contract, and he just hasn't retired. And then, I mean, you keep getting paid to play, keep doing it, but I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna do that. Kyle Anderson of Utah's a weird one. That's an honorable mention, sure. And now we move into the miscellaneous. We'll just blaze through these real quick. Miscellaneous. Which team is the most fun to watch? Tied for number one, Denver, Oklahoma. I'd agree with that. Pacers at 20, Golden State at 7, Minnesota at 7. I think Minnesota being entertaining is a fact of them last year not being able to close games and Ant just trying to do it. And that's what made them fun. Warriors are always fun. Steph Curry in the system. Pacers might not be as fun this year, but were definitely fun last year. In Oklahoma and Denver, of course. Who has the best home court advantage? Denver, Oklahoma. Denver because of the altitude and the fans. Oklahoma because of the fans. They're crazy. They were crazy when they were good with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, so it doesn't surprise me they're back at that status, especially after the first championship. Gonna be crazy on ring night for them. Gonna be loud. Um, New York Knicks 7%. Yeah. Last year Denver won it by an overwhelming 47%. Um, uh, okay, yeah, we got a couple. We'll get through a couple more here. Which team's level of success this season is the toughest to predict? Um, I won't go through the percentages. These are all like 7%, and then you have one on top. New Orleans, agree with. Memphis, agree with. Lakers, sh- yeah, yeah. I mean, with the LeBron James news, yeah, sure, yeah. Clippers, hell yes. So hard to predict. Houston, they're going to be tops of the league. What does top mean? I mean, avoid the play-in, I guess, right? Golden State. Golden State's a hard one. I'd agree with that. Dallas, yeah. And then number one, always number one in my heart, Philly. Definitely the toughest to predict. Paul George is going to be out to start the season. Joel is going to play, from what I've heard, so that's good. And then you got a bunch of young guys. You got Maxey, you got McCain, you got uh, BJ Edgecombe. You got Grimes back, and then Debona, I guess. I don't know. This is gonna be a weird season for Philly. Um, we'll skip that one. Which player is the most athletic? Here was my question from earlier, and I answered it correctly. Matt Thompson. Then you have Anthony Edwards. Those are probably the best two. LeBron James getting a vote. Ooh, Shaden Sharp getting a vote. That's nice. Shaden Sharp from Portland. Um, best pure shooter. Duh. 93% of the vote. Steph Curry. Um, best passer. Nikola Jokic, like I rambled on before. Luka Doncic, Trey Young, 2 and 3, and then James Harden, 4 for sure. Um, who is the best leader? Best leader, Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry, for what it's worth, has evolved as a leader over the last couple years. Since that last championship, and even before that last championship in 2021, 2022, um, his leadership has grown. It's such a weird thing for somebody so deep in his career, but his leadership has grown 43%. Then you have Jalen Brunson, 13 from New York. You have Nikola Jokic, 10% from Denver. And then you have a tie for fourth, LeBron. I don't think LeBron deserves to be on that list. Sorry if that offends you if you're a LeBron James fan. Shea. I think Shea leads by example, and that's okay. I think that's fine. And then Giannis, I think Giannis is very vocal. He's very lead by example as well, but also will get in your face and be like, "Hey, we're playing like shit." There's that video from a couple years ago. He was just like laying into people. He was like, "We suck. We need to do this better." Blah 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 blah. Best basketball IQ: Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Chris Paul. Normal suspects. I think Draymond Green deserves to be on here somewhere. Maybe not his antics, but his IQ just for basketball, amazing. Game on the line. Who do you want taking the last shot? Um, Steph Curry, 47. I don't know if the numbers back that up, but people still believe the propaganda, and I will back the propaganda if people are going to eat it up. Kevin Durant, hell yeah. Tyrese, yeah. Luka Doncic, yeah. Shea, yeah. That's a 2, 3, 4, 5. Also receiving votes, Jalen Brunson and Nikola Jokic. I think Nikola Jokic, if this question was, who do you want taking a high difficulty game winning shot on the line, I think Jokic would be a lot higher. Very high difficulty shots, Jokic is the king of. So is Luka. So is Tyrese. Yeah. Um, and then this is the last question. Almost an hour. I thought this was going to be an hour. I was like, no, I'm going to get through this quickly. Didn't get through it quickly. If you made it this far to this last question, um, comment down below. Answer any one of the questions that I went through. Yeah. Uh, last question. What rule most needs to change regarding schedule, draft slash lottery, playoff format, roster construction, etc.? Um, this one's funny. Um, tied for five. There's a three-way tie for five. Schedule. This first one's the schedule change. Oh, geez. Okay, wait. Wait. We'll get to the also receiving votes in a second. Wait, I just read. Hold on. Okay, so this one's a schedule one, tied for number five. This one is fewer back to backs and home road back to back. So they don't want what they would do last year was like a semi baseball series sometimes where let's say like Oklahoma would come down from Oklahoma to San Antonio, play San Antonio 2 times in San Antonio, and then or it would be my mistake. It would be like Oklahoma would go down to Houston, go down to San Antonio, play San Antonio, and then San Antonio would come up and go play Oklahoma. They don't want that. The GMs don't want that, which is understandable. Um, Another tie for number five. Um, Higher penalties for cap circumvention. For cap circumvention. I don't know if this is alluding to the Kawhi Leonard situation or just like other stuff that goes on, but sure. Um, this one's a funny one. This is a draft system change somebody wants. Can't draft in the top six 3 straight years. Shouldn't reward losing. I think mm, I think some I think some teams deserve to do this because they just constantly draft bad players thinking they're going to be good just because they're in the top six. I think teams get punished enough for drafting bad over the years to not have this be enforced. Um, Number three, oh, pardon me, tied for number four. Playoff format change. Seed the seed 1 through 16. The top seeds choose opponents. Change play and format. 1 to 16. Top seeds choose opponents. I think this has the potential to be absolutely hilarious because we've seen teams try to avoid other teams by dropping in the seeding or going up in the seeding, and they've regretted it. They've like either been swept or like had a really tough series that they didn't expect. This has potential to be very funny, or teams are just literally gonna pick the worst, the worst teams in the league in their conference and just be like, yeah, we're gonna kick the brakes off of you in 4 games. Either way, funny. Change playing format. There's no elaboration on that, so I'm not gonna talk about it. Um, this is a quote unquote game flow change. Continuous faster reviews. I think everybody wants that. Um, I think the somebody suggested 60 seconds. If you can't come up with it, leave it as is on the call on the floor. I think that needs to be instated right away. I think we spend too much time at the end of games, at the middle of games, deliberating at the monitor, and especially since quote unquote these guys are the best refs in the business, you guys should be able to get it done in 60 seconds. And listen. It should be right too. We shouldn't have wrong calls in 2025. There shouldn't be anything wrong. Okay, you should get it right. If you're the best in the business, and the NBA prides itself on this. They're the best in the business. They have to work their way up through a refereeing system from college to the G League to the WNBA to the NBA. You should be able to get the damn thing right. Um, this is almost a change of what we just had was only. Oh, my bad. This is a complete change. Only lottery on day one. So if it's gonna be 2 day lottery like they did this year, that was the first time they've done it. They only want the lottery on day one and then let everybody else sort it out on day two. I kind of like this. I think doing it on day one, doing the pageantry, I think making it shorter. I think this year's draft coverage was absolutely abysmal. It was absolutely shit. Um, but I think making it about the lottery picks on day one, and really diving into their college stuff and really diving into their story would be interesting. I don't mind that. And then this one is after free agency, the draft should be held. I don't know. I would have to see it. I think this is something you have to really dive into the numbers and think about. And think, does it make sense to let teams make moves before let teams make their draft picks before free agency? I think again it has the potential to put a lot of egg on a lot of GMs' faces because they could take a rookie and say, "Oh, we got the rookie instead of the veteran," which the NBA has always been trending younger, and they regret it because the draft pick sucks. Um, or the other way around, where it could work out, and they say, "Well, maybe we don't need these old guys. Maybe we don't need this. Maybe we don't need that." This kind of stuff. That kind of stuff. That was at 19% at number two, and then the number one most wanted thing apparently was roster construction. Apron rules are too harsh. Add a cap discount for own drafted players. I think that one's good. I don't think the apron is too harsh. I just think you need to abolish the apron entirely and redo the whole thing because it's a terrible system. The first apron, second apron is abysmal. It's terrible. It's the worst thing that's happened in the NBA for a while. Thanks to CJ McCollum and the NPBA, and they signed something they didn't understand. Um, Add a cap discount for own draft players. I think that's great. Allow player trading partial salaries. I think that's good. I think they do that in baseball. You can trade half a salary. I believe that's too. So somebody would take half the contract, you take half the contract, and I think they would take the player as well. So make all minimum contracts the same. I think that's fair. A nice round number, that'd be fine. And that is the number one rule change. The number one rule changes according to roster construction. Run through these also receiving votes section. The Elam ending. That is where you would play to a certain number. Instead of a regular clock, you would play to a number determined by some format, some other equation. Usually it's by like 10, it's usually 15 to 20 points from where the game ends. So if a team has 135 points, they need to get to 20 plus more points. And if a team's at 115, they need to get to that set number as well. So the losing team would be more incentivized to try to win the game, is what I think this is getting at. More G League experimentation. As somebody who got to watch G League Ignite burst into flames and be discontinued, um, I think the G League is fine where it is. Do not do anything with the G League. I think doing some of these rules in the G League, testing them in the G League is fine, but actually more like G League experimentation, like doing some stupid stuff like G League Ignite 2.0 is stupid. It's so stupid. And yeah, there's another thought I had, but that's a whole other tangent. Um, no disqualifications on sixth foul. One shot plus ball would be the solution, is what they're proposing here. I think I think 6 fouls is too little. I think the seventh foul. I think this is my thought. I think you should be. This is a thought I just know. I think you should be able to stay in the game with 6 fouls, but if you want to have the ability to get the seventh foul, if you foul out on your seventh foul, you should have to sit for a game. That should be your punishment. Is if you get your, you should have be able to get to 7 fouls in total, but you have the option to get to the seventh foul. But if you foul out of the seventh with the seventh foul, you have to sit out a game the next game. That should be that should be that should be the rule. That's my hot take of the day. And yeah, that is the 2025-2026 NBA GM survey. It took a whole hour, which I thought it would. But here we are. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Enjoy opening night tonight. I believe it's on NBC/Peacock, so check it out. You will get a video tomorrow talking about the games, and I'll elaborate on how I'm going to cover the games more in that video this season. So, I'll cover this season, I should say. So, yeah, like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.